Welcome to Maple Leaf America. I'm freezing my toque off here in St. Paul, Minnesota, home to the Minnesota Wild. You know, Detroit they call hockey town, but I'll tell you what, Minnesota, the state, this whole region, it is the epitome of hockey in the United States. The folks here are the closest thing to Canadians, the weather's the closest thing to Canada, and the hockey, it's part of the psyche. Now the Xcel Energy Center, all around the NHL, everybody, hey, have you seen the building in St. Paul? Hey, have you seen the Wild's home building? Hey, have you get in that building yet? Everybody here, hey, check out our building, it's unbelievable. Guess what? It's everything as advertised, and we're going to spend a lot of time inside that building during this program. So come on back, it's Maple Leaf America, Minnesota style, coming up next. Welcome back to Maple Leaf America, inside the beautiful Xcel Energy Center. And we begin the program with a look at this outstanding third-year franchise. They sell out every game, preseason and regular season. Obviously, the fans are eating it up.
Let's play hockey!
Let's play hockey! Let's play hockey!
When the Minnesota North Stars left for Dallas 10 years ago, the departure tore the heart out of the state of hockey.
It was terrible. It was very depressing and never should have happened. It's all political, you know.
But a blessing in disguise.
Right. We wouldn't have the Wild if it wasn't for that. And the Wild are an awesome team. They're great. They got great fans, and I haven't missed a game.
Well, it's disappointing when Minnesota lost their professional franchise because hockey is very big here, and there's great amateur hockey here and college hockey, and you know when the North Stars left, there was a void, and I think when the team and the Wild relocated here, there was a lot of questions, certainly because you know a new franchise named the Wild going to St. Paul, but it's been great, and the rink has been fantastic. They've done everything right, and it's a credit to the owners and everybody they've brought in. And you know, I can't think of anybody who hasn't enjoyed the ride so far.
Two examples of hockey love rehabilitation, with many thanks to the Nagley ownership group, which set its sights on bringing hockey back to the Twin Cities in the grandest way.
Let's play hockey!
Excellent. Got season tickets, bought them right away as soon as they came back.
I think they kept the hockey atmosphere. A lot of the new rinks, they've kind of built them for basketball or for something else, and this was built for hockey. And the fans have been terrific. I mean, we sell it all the time, and they're loud, they're excitable, they're knowledgeable. And, you know, it's, like I said a little bit earlier, it's the best place to play in the league. I think it's dynamite.
They're even bragging about the acoustics. The so-called arena experts, aka dorks from trade magazines, also ranked this rink #1.
Well, they got, you know, great food, and the sight lines are awesome compared to the Civic Center or the Met Center, actually. But, you know, back in the day when the Met Center was pretty good for me.
That's blasphemy.
Whenever you're in the building, you always know where you are relative to the ice surface, which is unusual. And it's a way that the fan never feels like he has to be in the seat for the entire game. It encourages flow of traffic. It encourages community building. And it's been a real great, the fans have just fallen in love with this place.
Let's play hockey! We learned a lot from some other buildings around North America and took a lot of design cues and tried to make the best of everything that we saw, and it really turned out wonderfully. This place has a real soul, and it really starts with our fans too. They've brought a lot of energy to this place, and the design of the building has kind of supported and promoted enthusiasm and positive energy right from the start. So we're having a lot of fun here.
And isn't fun what we're supposed to be having? Now the only thing left to really add to the fun in St. Paul would be to win. The Wild seem to be getting closer. If the season ended today, they'd be in a playoff spot for the first time in their 3-year history.
Let's play hockey! Let's play hockey! Let's play hockey!
Each season ticket holder received the Bible of Minnesota Wild hockey. Not about the rink or the accoutrements, but a handbook on how hockey operations and the coaching staff was building the team. Also, the fans were the first to have their sweater retired. #1 will never be worn for the Wild.
It's in our blood. Everybody plays, the kids, the adults, everybody plays. We got rinks on every lake and every corner. That's all we do. It's winter. Got to pass the time of day.
Sir, you found a pretty nice place to do it. I'm standing on one of the platforms or towers inside the Xcel Energy Center. Let's say this is number 1. Tommy's standing on number 2. Number 3 has an organ and an organist on it, shaped just like a Zamboni, designed like one. And then the lighthouse with the spotlight that spins around on tower number 4. A great view from up here, looking down into the sea of hockey fans that is sold out every single night here at the Xcel Energy Center. Now, to your left is the vast press box, where a friend of ours sits almost every hockey game here. He is an employee of the Maple Leafs, a scout, and former Maple Leafs player, Murray Oliver. Probably Maple Leaf America's most underrated old-timer ever, Murray Muzz Oliver. He played more than 1,000 games, scored 274 NHL goals, and added 454 assists. But Oliver always seemed to be overshadowed a bit wherever he went.
I had the very good fortune when I broke in with Detroit, playing on line with Gordy. I mean, that was great. Gordy and Alex Delvecchio, I mean, 2 Hall of Famers. You know, I was pretty lucky to get between those 2 guys. And then in Boston, playing with Orr, and then going to Toronto and playing with Mahavlich and Keon and Horton and, you know, the Armstrong string of guys there. So I've been pretty lucky to play with some good people.
Oliver just barely missed the Stanley Cup. Out of Boston just before they won it, to Toronto just after. Traded for Eddie Shack.
I'm not sure how popular that was in Toronto, but it was popular with me. Not for Shack, but just the fact that I could get a chance to go and play with the Maple Leafs.
Oliver's last year in Boston was the first for a young defenseman named Bobby Orr from Parry Sound, Ontario.
I watched him play in junior a little bit, and you could see how good he was there. And then we had training camp with the Bruins in London, Ontario, and that was Bobby's first camp. And you knew right away, and it just stood out that he was going to be a great player, and he was. He had something that all the guys that I know anyway, and I played with some good ones. The great players, they all have humility. He had a big chunk of that, and just a great player.
It's Pope right in front of the net. Oliver scores for Boston.
Well, at that time, Bruins weren't very good. And, the Rangers and the Bruins used to battle it out for the Eastern Seaboard Championship, 5th and 6th place. You know, they never made the playoffs. So that was, being traded from Detroit was disappointing. First of all, because you think they don't like you, they didn't like me, so they're trading me, and so you take it personally instead of knowing it's a business now. But that was disappointing at first, and I got traded there, and then I learned to love the city. It's a great place, and both our children were born there.
In terms of experience, there's very little missing from this man's career, which with coaching and scouting spans 4 decades.
Yeah, it's been good to me. I've been in this game over 40 years, so I feel very lucky. Not that this job isn't important. You make a bad trade, it costs a team nowadays millions of dollars, so it's you better be right in what you think. But it certainly is different than playing, and you sit up in the press box up here, it's a lot easier to play the game than it was down on the ice.
On the ice, Oliver was a crafty centerman.
Pretty quick. I get out of the way. I thought I was a playmaker. I like to make plays as much as score goals, and I just consider myself a pretty good all-around player. Enjoyed every minute of it.
At 5'8", 165 pounds, Oliver's deftness of foot allowed him to cruise around under the radar, so to speak, in the particularly punishing days of the original 6.
I had one fight in my whole career, and that was with Bob Turner of Chicago. And they said, when you come into the league, you got to stick up for yourself, or they'll take advantage of you. So he slashed me or something, so I dropped the gloves, and I don't think either of us hit each other, but it was, I was not a fighter. I was not a penalty getter, I was a penalty killer.
Despite all those games in the big show, Oliver's fondest memory comes from before turning pro in 1958.
I played in the first All-Star game ever in St. Catharines. St. Catharines TPs played an All-Star team from the rest of the league, and I was fortunate enough to score 3 goals in that game, first All-Star game ever. And then I won the Red Tilson Trophy as the most valuable player in junior. Those are two exciting moments of my life.
Oliver played in Maple Leaf Gardens as an amateur and as a professional. He enjoyed the uniqueness and atmosphere of all of the original buildings.
That's like Chicago Stadium, the Montreal Forum, Madison Square Gardens, all those old buildings, you know, and Maple Leaf Gardens had that character, and they're never going to replace that. And Air Canada is nice, but it doesn't have that atmosphere that the old gardens did. And living in Hamilton, born in Hamilton, Ontario, and living there and watching Hockey Night in Canada every Saturday night, and then get a chance to play junior against the Marlies and St. Mike's in Maple Leaf Gardens, it was a thrill. And then, as I say, when I got traded there, it was great to play in that building. And what was really nice also, I was brought back when they closed the building. They brought a bunch of us back that night and treated us royally. It was great.
Oliver and his family have been Minnesotans since 1972. After wrapping up his playing days with the North Stars, he started coaching, even filling in as the head man for 41 games in 1982. Much of his scouting career has been with Pat Quinn.
I just scout the pros in case Pat wants to make a trade. And it's very sophisticated now. I have a laptop computer and I plug in reports. And it used to be, you'd say, I want to go see Murray Oliver play. So, we might be making a deal. So you go see him play. He doesn't play very good. You don't want to make the deal. He plays good. They don't want to make the deal. So now you base it on reports, past history, what a guy has done, and maybe we can get him back to that stature with our good coaching staff.
And with the return of hockey to the Twin Cities,
I've been fortunate to work with some people that didn't make me move because there was no team here. Everything was travel, so it was a little more expense than normal. And fortunately, I worked for Pat in Vancouver and also now at the Leafs. And with the Wild here now, it's easier on the budget, easier on my travel.
There's the shot. Hits right in front. Busick. Past Oliver. Scores! Murray Oliver from Johnny Busick.
getting a little fresh air outside the Xcel Energy Center, overlooking downtown St. Paul, the capital of the great state of Minnesota. Stay with us, much more ahead. We'll take a look at a way of life here, high school hockey. We'll also go right back into the big rink when we come back and take a look at a little Minnesota hockey history. It's all ahead. Stay with us. Welcome back to Maple Leaf America, and we just cannot get out of the Xcel Energy Center. It's beautiful, it's luxurious, it has everything, including a museum with curator Roger Godin. What's going on here?
It's the state of hockey. Basically, what we've done here is tell the story of hockey in Minnesota, which is perhaps the most significant in the United States. We might get some argument from Michigan and Massachusetts, but we'll defend ourselves.
And you have a jersey from every high school team in the state?
Well, not quite. Most of the boys' programs, there's about 156 programs. We've got 149. The girls are 122, and we've got about 39. So we haven't had, unfortunately, as great a response there, but they go all the way around. So altogether, it's about 185.
All right, and Roger is going to take us around and show us a little bit of this Minnesota hockey history.
Over there, above the doors, you'll see Zamboni number 37, which was originally on this site here at the old St. Paul Auditorium. And it served there and at the Civic Center, which was the successor institution. And then after that, it wound its way up to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and we managed to retrieve it and have it restored and brought it in here in October of '01. And so when we named the press box for him in March, we also put in this exhibit, which relates to his career. He's in the broadcasters wing of the Hall of Fame in Toronto. We put this in about the middle of last year, the Olympic year, and it's Minnesota's contribution to the United States teams that have managed to win medals, and there's been Minnesota content on all medal-winning teams except for 1924 and 1932. So it does run chronologically, and you have Dick Meredith's coat there from 1956, I believe, and on through things belonging to John Mayasich, one of the greatest pure amateurs we produced in this country, originally from Eveleth, Minnesota, and through the 70s, and of course the 1980 situation with Herb Brooks's jacket. In the beginning of year 2, we put this in for the former NHL team that was here from 1967 to 93, the North Stars. A lot of people have very fond memories about them, and of course not so fond memories on their departure, but without their departure, of course, we wouldn't have what we have now. So what's here is an opening graphic, how the team got here, and then highlighting the two that went to the Stanley Cup Finals there, the original team in the middle. It's a very significant exhibit related to the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy. It's the outstanding male player, and Baker is, in my view, the greatest American player we've ever produced at any level. Now that can be argued with, but I'll stand by it. In fact, I would suggest to you that Baker is the American Gretzky before we had a Gretzky. If you read the contemporary accounts, they were built the same, and they were similar kinds of players, and if he was around today, he would certainly, I think, be Gretzky's equal. And I know there's this argument about comparing eras and all that sort of thing, but I'll stand by that. And of course, Jordan Leopold is the incumbent with Calgary, although he's been up and down. And what we have here in front of it is photos of prior winners with artifacts. She played there, and then after that, unfortunately, at age 28, succumbed to a rather rare disease. And the award then was established in her name and has been given since 1998. And the breakout so far is 4 Americans and 1 Canadian has won it.
No Minnesotan.
That is correct, but I would think that will change soon. Yeah. But in the late 30s and early 40s, the Chicago Blackhawks trained in Hibbing, Minnesota on 6 different occasions, starting in 1936. The team actually won the Stanley Cup in 1937-38, and there were 4 legitimate American developed players, all of whom were from Minnesota, on the team, in a rather Cinderella kind of situation. They didn't play that well during the regular season and got hot in the playoffs and went all the way. And I hate to tell you Torontonians, they defeated your team 3-1 to win the Cup in 1938.
More coming up from the Xcel Energy Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. Right after this, funny hockey fan photo. Time for another funny hockey fan photo. We've got good variety here. We've got Gary Howitt with his goofy helmet playing with the Hartford Whalers. Some celebrities in the audience. It's Horst Shack and Epstein from Welcome Back, Kotter. Susan Day from the Partridge Family. Potentially Dan Aykroyd. Up here we've got some guys that really need to take their coats off, stay for a while, enjoy themselves. This guy definitely needs to spend another $1.50 or something on a new hat. You know, come on, wear something decent. Now, the strange thing about this picture, as opposed to the fact that everybody's just kind of enjoying themselves, everyone over here is looking that way. I mean, notice are they following the puck? What are these people doing? They're all looking kind of over here. And then Howitt is looking kind of out this way. Pre-game warm-up, maybe? I'm not sure. Or it's the early onset of group attention deficit syndrome. Welcome back to Maple Leaf America inside the Xcel Energy Center, where obviously the atmosphere is wonderful. But you know what? You know where you can find an even better More exciting hockey atmosphere, believe it or not.
Nowhere.
Minnesota high school hockey.
Oh, there you go.
It's unbelievable.
Well, high school hockey here is huge. The programs here have always been solid. I think, you know, the knowledge of people in Toronto, I've probably heard this high school state hockey tournament here. If you haven't, it's a neat thing. It's kind of like in Indiana, they have a basketball tournament that's really big there, but it's been a very popular thing here. You know, there's 16,000 people that go to these games and are really behind it. And when I was a kid, it was my dream to play in the Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament, which is a huge deal. And I was fortunate to play in that my last year of high school. We didn't win it all, but it was a great experience, and you know, it's covered here throughout the whole state on TV, and a lot of exposure. And had the opportunity to do it with my brother, and that was a neat thing. I'll never forget it.
Well, you know, we have winter here for quite a few months of the year, so the boys skate outside and they skate inside. So, and it's just a big part of their participation in school and keeps them out of trouble. So, it's what they do.
You know, you play as a kid and stuff, and it's always with you.
We have a very successful youth hockey program. A lot of volunteers. Very few communities here have a 3-rink arena like we have here, and we have a real good program.
That's where all of our fun takes place. It's where all of our friends meet. If our kids aren't playing a game, we go to our friends and watch their kids play.
It's huge. It's like it's a very big sport. It gets great TV ratings in March. It's very popular. It's a money maker. You know, it's like, for instance, if you're a teacher at the school, you still have to pay to get in to see hockey because it's that important.
Well, that's going to do it from the center of the USA hockey universe, Minnesota. Next week, Pennsylvania. I've already got the wardrobe change. I'm ready to go.